Picture a king desperate to capture his greatest rival. But instead of marching an army across the border, he builds a massive, hollow, mechanical white elephant, hides his best soldiers inside, and leaves it deep in the jungle. King Pradyot orchestrated this mechanical ruse in ancient India, a documented engineering feat designed to catch a rival, not through brute force, but through high-stakes deception. We're usually taught to look at history entirely through the lens of expanding borders. We focus on the bloodshed, the military campaigns, and the ruthless warlords consuming everything in their path. But when you dig into the research behind Shankar Baam's historical collection, Kalachakra Ke Pahiye, a massive blind spot appears in that traditional view. The most defining victories of ancient India were actually ideological wars. Absolute political power was repeatedly defeated by the soft power of science, art, and philosophy. Let's go back to that mechanical elephant. King Pradyot built that tab to capture King Udayan. Udayan had a rare, highly strategic ability. He could tame real elephants using only his veena. Pradyot thought he neutralized his enemy. Instead, Udayan used his imprisonment to launch an unexpected countermove. While forced to teach his art to the king's daughter, Vasavadatta, he used that music to completely win her loyalty. Under the cover of a full moon, the two escaped on a real elephant. Their subsequent marriage achieved something years of violent conflict could not. It permanently ended the political rivalry between their two kingdoms. That resistance through art takes an even darker turn during the Saka invasions. Invading forces threw a brilliant painter named Kovalan into a dark, disease-ridden prison to rot. He is eventually treated by a young physician, who is actually Emperor Vikramaditya in disguise. The physician reminds the starving artist of a crucial truth. An artist's true creative spirit exists apart from the body, and it cannot be chained by any foreign invader. Tyrants build their empires by using military might to break human bodies, but the creative spirit provides a psychological resistance that outlasts the cell walls. Emperor Vikramaditya himself possessed immense royal authority, yet even he was forced to bow down to a power far greater than his own throne, pure, unyielding science. You can see this in his relationship with the scholar Varamihira. His records show a discipline deeply rooted in complex geometric calculations and precise planetary modeling used to predict celestial events. Because empirical data outranked royal decrees, the emperor was forced to acknowledge the math. He placed this scientist at the absolute highest tier of his court, cementing him as one of his legendary 9 gems. That same devotion to science drove ancient Indian engineering. King Bhoja is often remembered as a ruler, but he authored the Yukti Kalpataru, a highly detailed engineering and shipbuilding manual. The manual tackles a very specific physics problem. It explicitly warns against using standard iron nails in a ship's hull, calculating that hidden magnetic rocks would pull on the metal and rip the vessel apart. So to build his massive ship, the Swarnamukhi, Bhoja engineered a brilliant solution. He eliminated iron, using interlocking wooden joints to pass safely over the magnetic fields. These rulers demonstrated that long-term authority required more than just conquering territory. It demanded a true mastery of the physical world and a willingness to align royal power with absolute scientific reality. The final and perhaps strongest check on absolute power was moral philosophy. When Emperor Bimbisara wanted to build a grand new city, his ambition was clouded by a dark superstition. He became convinced that the city's foundation required a human sacrifice. It's a stark example of the cruelty that unchecked political ambition almost always breeds. But Queen Chelna intervened. Grounded deeply in the Jain philosophy of ahimsa, or nonviolence, she challenged the emperor's logic and stopped the bloodshed, proving that ethics could overrule an autocrat. We see this pattern again with Emperor Ashoka. His famous embrace of peace didn't just happen on a blood-soaked battlefield in Kalinga. It actually began much earlier, sparked by the quiet sacrifice of his first love, Vidisha Devi. To prevent political unrest over her non-royal merchant background, Vidisha Devi voluntarily renounced her royal life to become a Buddhist nun. She sacrificed her personal love for the stability of the state, planting the early seeds of Dhamma that would eventually transform the emperor. Empires built purely on ego and cruelty inevitably collapse under their own weight. Those grounded in moral sacrifice and nonviolence are the ones that leave an enduring legacy. This brings us back to the core concept of Shankar Baam's work, Kalachakra, the wheel of time. As time relentlessly turns, conquering armies and tyrannical kings eventually fade entirely into dust. What actually survives the turning of the wheel isn't the sword. It is the engineering texts, the mathematical calendars, the epic poetry, and the philosophies of peace. The ultimate measure of a civilization's strength isn't the size of its military or the amount of fear it manages to instill in its neighbors. True immortal power belongs exclusively to the societies that elevate human knowledge, create timeless art, and protect their shared morality.